Today on Race Day, the Cup Stars visit the Magic Mile in New Hampshire. Pole sitter there for the first time in a couple of years. We'll have a live preview. A new shoe will step into the Texaco Ford next year. We'll see who's in line for the job and where Ernie might be headed. And the Busch Stars in a battle at the beach. A young gun looking forward to some new wheels. Hey, grab the sunscreen. It's all time for Race Day, Sunday, July 13th, 1997. Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Race Day. I'm Rick Benjamin, back in our Charlotte studios in the midst of a jam-packed weekend for TNN Motorsports. The grand finale coming up straight ahead this afternoon in New Hampshire. The Winston Cup Stars battling live here on TNN. The Jiffy Lube 300 starts at 1 o'clock Eastern today. And it's ironic that the defending champion from this event has been at the center of the news all week. Ernie Irvan completed his comeback from those near-fatal injuries by winning this race 1 year ago. But all that is going to change. TNN's Eli Gold in New Hampshire to call the action for us today. Eli, how's the Yates team reacting to word of that pending driver change this week?
Well, Rick, actually, as far as the crew members are concerned, they're not saying much at all, though team owner Robert Yates finally has allowed the name Kenny Irwin to slip through his lips for the very first time. And we should mention, by the way, before we go any further, the noise you're hearing in the background, that's Roberto Guerrero showing off his IRL car to the packed grandstands here in New Hampshire. And there you see the Pennzoil colors with the Indy Racing League, part of the menu here at the New Hampshire International Speedway in 1997. But back to Robert Yates, we'll be hearing from him during our pre-race coverage that starts at 12:30 Eastern time today, and he'll speculate as to whether it might be Kenny Irwin coming over from the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in 1998, or maybe as early as later this season. Meanwhile, the big story here this weekend about this Jiffy Lube 300 is the man who's on the Busch pole, Kenny Schrader, for the first time in 2 years on the pole position. Buddy Baker is here with me this weekend, and Buddy, it's been a while for Schrader, but he always qualifies well here, so maybe it's not a surprise.
Well, it's not a surprise because he and Andy Petrie now have a half a season together. The communication is getting to the point that they understand what each of them like. I look for Schrader to be a factor for the second half of the season.
As the qualifying lap unfolded here on Friday, everybody knew the car would be tough. That same car with Robert Presley at the wheel finished 5th here a year ago in the Jiffy Lube 300. So Schrader starts on the Busch pole. And how about some of those other names? Look at Chad Little qualifying 4th, and Jerry Nadeau cracking the top 10 for the Jackson Racing team. So a lot of interesting names there. Other notables, well, pick out your favorite. And Jeff Gordon has not qualified that far down since Talladega, Alabama in 1994. It's been a while since he's been out of the top 25 in qualifying. But let's go to Matt Yoakum down on the pit lane. He's standing by with our pole sitter today, Kenny Schrader. Matt?
Eli, that 65 race drought came to an end on Friday with a new track record nonetheless, giving Andy Petrie his first pole as a car owner. Now how about a win? Are you guys poised to get this?
Oh, we think we're in good shape. The only problem is, like every other week, there's a dozen other guys, you know, that are running good. But the Skull Chevrolet was good right off the truck and remained good through practice. We changed quite a few things Saturday afternoon, but we got a little better.
And you look at this, a lot of people say it's kind of cloud cover right now, but the track is going to get slicker. Is that more towards your driving style?
Well, I just soon slip and slide. It's kind of boring when you just run around there straight all the time. So, yeah, if it slickens up a little bit, it won't bother us any.
And Eli, the last 2 races, Schrader's finished exactly where he started. He hopes today it's in victory lane.
It would work out. That's Matt Yoakum and Ken Schrader. We'll all be back with you at 12:30 today with a half hour of pre-race coverage leading up to the Jiffy Lube 300. And Rick, by the way, we enjoyed your coverage from Myrtle Beach last night. Kept us all occupied here in the Granite State. A good job.
Hey, thanks a lot, Eli. We'll look forward to your call at 1 o'clock today, and we'll see you more from Loudon coming up in just a couple of moments. So it will be a bittersweet return to the Granite State for Ernie Irvan. After weeks of rumor and speculation, car owner Robert Yates announcing this week that Irvan will leave the 28 car at the end of the year. Race Day's Bob Dillner telling us it's a pretty peaceful end to a 4-year relationship.
The decision is that, Ernie's, I've elected not to re-sign him. I haven't fired him, haven't done any of those things.
Robert Yates made official what many people suspected for some time. Ernie Irvan will not be the driver of the Texaco 28 next year. Despite being one of the elite few who have visited Victory Lane in Winston Cup this season, 1997 has been filled by a roller coaster of emotions and rumors of contract negotiations for Ernie Irvan.
Robert just kind of made a decision that he needed to do something different. So, you know, I know that a one-year deal probably wouldn't be good for Ernie Irvan, just because then I'd be in the same situation next year. So, you know, it's a lot better to get started on it now. And you know, I feel like you just got to weigh out all the options and figure out what's going to be best for Ernie Irvan. And you know, I've had a few phone calls, but you know, right now it's just all happened here lately. But I do have a basketball court.
While Ernie drops hints about the possible teaming up with the new Winston Cup team, owned by former football player Joe Washington and basketball great Julius Erving, Robert Yates is keeping tight-lipped about who will fill the void at RYR in '98.
I had to make this decision first. I've done that. I have not made any, you know, any decisions on what the future is. I do, and I am now currently talking to some that I feel that I can openly do.
Just who will replace Ernie Irvan in the 28 remains unanswered right now, although there is speculation that Kenny Irwin or Johnny Benson or both could join Dale Jarrett at Robert Yates Racing next year. Reporting for Race Day, I'm Bob Dillner.
All right, thanks, Bob. We will watch and keep you posted. After a couple of weeks off, the Kart PPG World Series making its annual stop at one of its most unusual tracks today, the 2.1-mile layout on the runways of the Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland. Very wide, very bumpy. Always plenty of competition, and that's no exception in what we've seen so far qualifying for today's race. The weather nice on the shores of Lake Erie Saturday. Early in the going, Max Pappas with some problems in the Cal Wells Toyota. Mad Max spins the 25 car through the grass, slams a tire barrier. He's not hurt. Pappas comes back to qualify the car 22nd. Now Greg Moore in the Players Radar, the 99, makes a long, lazy slide in the same corner. Moore had won twice this year, gets 13th fastest for qualifying for today's event. Mark Blundell, first in class, his Mercedes-powered car, good enough for third on the grid. He'll line up inside row 2 in the Pac West Reynard, the winner at Portland. And last year, Gil DeFerrin won this race driving for Jim Hall. This year, the Brazilian may repeat. He'll start second, qualified at more than 131, alongside this driver, Alex Zanardi, Chip Ganassi's pilot, second to DeFerrin at Cleveland last year. Zanardi serves notice he'll be a force when they drop the green today. Zanardi with a track record over 133 miles an hour, the pole by more than half a second over DeFerrin. Rest of the top 10, Michael Andretti will start fourth. Christian Fittipaldi, strong in his comeback, will line up fifth today. Andre Ribeiro in a Reynard, he qualifies in the top 10. Point leader Paul Tracy will start in the 10th spot. You see Moore there 13th. And Al Unser Jr., his problems continue. He qualifies 18th. Highlights, of course, from Cleveland tonight on race day at 10 o'clock Eastern time. And there's more to come this Sunday. We'll head back to Loudon, continue our preview coverage of the Jiffy Lube 300. And more on last night's Bush Beach Clash. Young Elliott Sadler making his second victory lane visit of the season. The highlights when race day rolls on.
Race Day is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them.
Welcome back to Race Day. Hope you were with us last night from the beach. NASCAR's Busch Series Warriors enjoying a very warm night at Myrtle Beach last night. The Advanced Auto Parts 250. No shortfall of action or lead changes or contact on the newly repaved half mile. Elliott Sadler, a new track record on the pole, and he had the early lead as well in the 29, but Elliott would lose the point here, lap 49. He taps the back end of Jim Sauter driving the Duralube machine. He was a lap car at the time. Second place car Tim Fedewa piles in as well. Nathan Butke will go around the carnage and steal the lead while Sadler and Fedewa both get front end damage. Butke's run comes to a halt here. He tangles with Jeff Purvis on the main straightaway. Purvis was second. He spins by and Fedewa grabs the lead. Lap 177 now. Buckshot Jones and Jason Keller make contact on the main straightaway. Buckshot goes for a ride through the grass and just comes off the wall. Elliott Sadler takes advantage of this. Goes by Matt Kenseth, pitting out of sequence. Uses track position to grab the lead. Looked like we might have a one-lap shootout now. Flat tire there for Joe Bessie, but instead this one ends under caution. Sadler, the winner.
That call was awesome on old runs. You know, it took us a while to get going, but this call's been awesome all weekend. Once we start running great, and I tell you, this is awesome. And I'm just looking forward to next weekend.
I'm sure he is. Sadler, the winner last night. Mike McLaughlin gets second. Randy LaJoie comes in third, just ahead of Todd Bodine. Mike Dillon with a nice sixth last night. Here's how the points stack up. 2/3 of the way through the season. Randy LaJoie now with a 37-point lead over Todd Bodine. Phil Parsons, 356 back. The Busch Series stars take a week off, and they'll go to Gateway in St. Louis in 2 weeks. We'll have full coverage of that one, of course, for you right here on Race Day. Well, earlier yesterday, the Matadors of NASCAR matching wits with one of the toughest tracks anywhere. Our Mopar Performance Update now, focusing on the Craftsman Truck Series stars, dueling on one of the real bull rings, Louisville Motor Speedway in Kentucky. Jimmy Hensley had the pole. Tony Raines on the outside of the Dodge. Last week's winner, Ron Hornaday, would scoot to the lead early, up from fourth on the first lap. 9 laps in, first caution of the day, one of 14. Butch Miller loses it in Walker Evans 20, right in front of the 31 of Tony Roper. Kenny Irwin Jr., a lot of speculation about him, as you've heard. He had a rough day. Irwin and Michael Dockin tangle here on lap 35. Tammy Jo Kirk in the 7 truck also caught up in it. You're seeing that from Jay Sauter's machine. Hornaday running unchallenged up front. The battle for second spot. Jimmy Hensley driving the Richard Petty machine moves around Joe Ruttman, making up for a rough start. There'll be more carnage after the midway break. Jack Sprague second in points. Pulls hard with Rick Corelli late in the going. Jack and Corelli make contact a couple of times before Corelli loses a left front tire. The two get together again. Sprague goes around. Hornaday here on the outside, or rather on the inside, all alone. Ruttman closes in as they come to the line. Not enough to deny Hornaday his 4th win of the season. His 2nd straight. Jimmy Hensley comes home with a nice 3rd. Tony Raines 4th. Rich Bickle rounds out the top 5. Now that 5th earns Bickle an extra 10 Gs for leading the point standings at midseason. Sprague 62 back now in 2nd, followed by Ruttman and Hornaday, who moves up into 4th spot. Chuck Bound rounds out the first 5. The trucks go to Denver next Saturday afternoon for the Colorado 250. We, of course, will have full coverage right here. Formula One stars were at work this morning. We'll tell you more about that in a couple of moments. But when we return, plenty more from the Winston Cup Series. One new team making plans to join the Tour next year. The future of one of the sport's oldest tracks not yet resolved. And we'll go back live to Loudon, where pre-race activities are underway. We'll meet a surprise who's qualified in the first 10 when we continue. About 45 minutes before the green flag in New Hampshire for NASCAR's Winston Cup stars. The Jiffy Lube 300 coming your way live here on TNN Motorsports this afternoon. Our Steve Burns will be among those on pit road this afternoon. He joins us live from New Hampshire. Steve, a real surprise in the top 10 in qualifying. This guy gets a top 10 very early in his career.
Boy, how about this, Rick Benjamin? When the season started, Jerry Nadeau was the spotter for Morgan Shepherd. Now he starts next to Terry Labonte and in front of Rusty Wallace and Ernie Irvan. Jerry, boy, great job, just your 4th career start.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm pretty excited. I don't know if I should be thinking about the race or watching this stunt pilot right here. He's putting on a hell of a show, but I'm excited for this whole team. Pontiac, R&L Carriers, these guys done a tremendous job. I need a golf shirt, R&L Carriers. See, I don't have one yet. So, but it's going to be a quick, fast-paced race. It's only 300 laps, so it's going to happen quick. So we just need some good pit stops. If we can get through the first half of the race unscathed and no problems, I feel like we've got a good car. I mean, we came off the trailer, we weren't that good, and then all of a sudden we made some changes. Gil Martin, Eddie Jones, and Richard Jackson, we all sat down and we figured what we needed. And I went in the trail and put my head down before qualifying. We went out and did a good job in qualifying, and I think we were 4th quickest in happy hour, so I'm pretty excited.
All right, Jerry, best of luck this afternoon. And as Eli Gold said, pre-race show coming up at 12:30. Back to Charlotte and Rick Benjamin.
All right, thank you, Steve. We wish Jerry well, the pride of Danbury, Connecticut, a neighbor of Randy LaJoie's. Our coverage again continues at 12:30. A live preview of the Jiffy Lube 300. Of course, our race coverage starts at 1 o'clock today here on TNN. Some other Winston Cup notes this week. Not everything went right for John Andretti's RCA Ford team at Daytona last Saturday. NASCAR fining crew chief Tony Furr $50,000, one of the biggest fines ever, for using illegal carburetor mounting studs on the 98. Those studs designed to move. The illegal pieces found before the start of the race last Saturday. NASCAR officials ordered Furr to change the studs. They confiscated the parts. So the car ran legally. NASCAR says the Cale Yarborough Ford passed a thorough post-race inspection last Saturday. Cale is going to protest. We understand the fine. A familiar face returns to Winston Cup next year. This is current Busch Series competitor Todd Bodine. He'll run for a new Cup team with a new sponsor next year. They plan to make the official announcement at the Brickyard in a couple of weeks.
You know, we're excited. It's going to be a Pontiac, and I've signed a 3-year deal with them. The programs that these people have in place are tremendous. The sponsor is just fantastic. They're excited. I'm excited. We're really looking forward to it.
To help prepare for 1998, Todd tells us they will run at Charlotte and at Atlanta later on this year. Well, the future of North Carolina Motor Speedway is not yet resolved. Back on Monday, a special committee of the board of directors at Rockingham met, and what they decided depends on who you talk to. Speedway Motorsports, Bruton Smith's company, saying first that the committee recommended that stockholders take their higher offer, $32 a share. While Penske Motorsports maintains the committee recommended both offers, but said only the Penske offer of $19.32 a share could realistically go before the shareholders, since Penske now controls 70% of stock in the Rockingham racetrack. Speedway responded by maintaining the committee does in fact favor their higher offer. The NCMS board is scheduled to meet next July 22nd. Some stock analysts say this one is likely to end up in court, but we will keep you up to date. More to come on race day this Sunday. When we're through, stay right here for TNN's special pre-race coverage leading up to the Jiffy Lube 300. We'll take an intimate look at the first family of motorsports in New Hampshire. The Bears will profile Roush Racing, maybe the next super team in Winston Cup. They'll look at a small Kentucky town that sent more than its share of drivers to Winston Cup racing. Our preview coverage continues at 12:30 Eastern. We've got more race day ahead right after this.
Promotional fee and consideration paid by Gladiator and Universal Luxury Vans, the official van of tracks, teams, and drivers throughout the NASCAR world. Call 1-800-445-2825 for a dealer near you. By Featherlight Trailers, the official trailer of NASCAR, IndyCar, IRL, and major sponsor of the NHRA. Remember to call Featherlight for all your trailer needs at 1-800-800-1230 or 319-547-6000. Race fans, kick off the 1997 NASCAR season with this exclusive offer, an authentic TNN Motorsports NASCAR Thunder mini helmet made by Simpson Race Products. Call today or visit your local NASCAR Thunder store to purchase this one-of-a-kind limited edition collectible. Call 1-800-338-6016. Subscribe to Stock Car Racing Magazine at the low introductory price of $14.97. Call toll-free 1-888-9-STOCK-CAR. Save 68%. Toll-free 1-888-9-STOCK-CAR.
Welcome back. You know, last night's Busch Grand National Bash at Myrtle Beach had all the excitement you'd expect from a short track Saturday night. Plenty of bumping and banging and close competition. Race Day's Mike Hogwood breaks down the duel at the beach.
The big story late in the race at Myrtle Beach was tires. Elliott Sadler was leading, but he was on old and worn tires. Mike McLaughlin was on fresher tires, and he was coming hard. But Elliott Sadler was able to hold him off for the win with grit and determination.
This Phillips 66 crew is awesome. This team is awesome. Hey, we won another one from the pole, but it was a tough one. We had to make a few changes and stuff like that, and try to make adjustments on old tires and did good. And I just like to thank Phillips 66 and Chevrolet for supporting us in Diamond Ridge Motorsports. And woo, I love it, baby. Woo!
We had a good run today. This is a car we've been working real hard to get a good balance with. Everybody on this Royal Oak Charcoal crew has done a great job and never give up, and today was a good example of that. We finally brought this car home with a good finish.
The 2 points leaders, Randy LaJoie and Todd Bodine, finished third and fourth. LaJoie maintains his points lead. Both drivers had to overcome early trouble to come home in the top 5.
Guy got in the right front and knocked the toe out, and you know, the crew had to adjust it. You know, we fell back. I'm not sure how far at the beginning, but we weren't that good, and we adjusted it and got about 50% better, and then we adjusted it again and got a little bit better, so we're able to get a third.
Unfortunately, on the first stop, we ran into Randy's tire going out of the pits, and it pushed the nose back and made the car push real bad. But, you know, we adjusted on it, got it pretty good, and just was too tight the rest of the way.
LaJoie pads his lead over Todd Bodine by just a little bit, but it's still going to be a dog fight to the finish for the Busch Grand National Series Championship. In Myrtle Beach, I'm Mike Hogwood reporting for Race Day.
Mike's still able to smile after the kiss from Elliott Sadler. Elliott, by the way, gets a new Harley from Team Owner Gary Bechtel for winning his second race of the year from the pole position. Formula One at work this morning. Silverstone, England for the F1 Tour, round 10 of the World Championship. Michael Schumacher going for 3 straight wins, trying to keep his point lead over the pole sitter Jacques Villeneuve. Well, Schumacher led much of this one this morning before falling out late in the race. Villeneuve inherited the point, goes on to win over Jean Alesi and Alexander Wurz. The Formula One Tour heads next to Germany in 2 weeks, July 27th. Schumacher still the point leader, but his margin now only 4 over Jacques Villeneuve. We'll have highlights for you tonight. There's a few laps still to go on our edition of Race Day today. Busy day of motorsports on television this Sunday. Coming up straight ahead here, our preview coverage of the Jiffy Lube 300 at 12:30. The race itself at 1 o'clock tonight. Race Day at 10 Eastern. We'll have highlights, of course, from New Hampshire and from CART at Cleveland and a whole lot more. Keep it right here. Finally today, John Andretti still savoring his win last week at Daytona, his first Winston Cup victory in the Pepsi 400. You might have thought that John, who's Mario's nephew, came from nowhere to grab that checkered flag, but you might say he came from everywhere. I thought we'd recap some of his career. John's been behind the wheel and in victory lane in nearly every kind of race car you can imagine. Back in the early 80s, he ran sprint cars and midgets throughout the country. One of the great drives I'd ever seen, in fact, at Belleville. 1989, part of the winning team in the 24 Hours of Daytona in a Porsche 962. And then John took a turn into top fuel dragster land for a while, drove for baseball star Jack Clark. Ran Indy cars, of course, for a number of years. Scored a kart victory in 1991 at Surfers Paradise in Australia. And he is the only man to run Indy and the Charlotte Coca-Cola 600 the same day. Well, finally, in his 110th career Winston Cup start last week, one of the nicest guys in racing makes it to Winner's Circle Land at Daytona. We're betting that it won't be his last visit there at a Winston Cup car either. Our congratulations again to John Andretti. Well, that's race day on this Sunday noon hour. Thanks for watching. We're back tonight at our normal time, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific. Plenty of coverage from New Hampshire, from Cleveland, the Outlaws, the ASA Stars, and a whole lot more. Our special preview coverage from Loudon joins you next, taking you right up to the Jiffy Lube 300. See you tonight.